Good morning, church. Welcome to our devotion this morning. We continue in Nehemiah, and this morning we're looking at chapter 13 from verse 15. Let's remind ourselves of the story. Nehemiah had returned to Jerusalem, and on returning he found the house of God had been abandoned, so temple reform was vital. It was needed to save the people from both compromise and collapse. And it's here we pick up the story. At that time and in those days, Nehemiah saw some people in Judah, and they were treading wine presses. Some of them were bringing in sacks of grain and loading them onto donkeys, together with wine, grapes, figs and other things, and then bringing all that into the city on the Sabbath. Others too from Tyre were bringing fish and all kinds of merchandise, and again they were selling them on the Sabbath. Nehemiah asked the people, "What is the wrong thing you are doing? Why are you violating the Sabbath?" Nehemiah reminds the people that it is those very same actions that their ancestors did that led to catastrophe, and that those actions stir up wrath against Israel. Nehemiah orders the gates of Jerusalem be shut as evening shadow falls before Sabbath and until it is over. And so merchants and sellers of all kinds of goods who would spend their night outside the city walls are turned away, because the Sabbath is to be kept holy. Nehemiah's observant eye is nowhere more strikingly seen than here. He is particularly concerned with the welfare of the people because, as a student of history and as a realist, he knew that their existence depended on obedience to God. One of the central features of exilic and post-exilic cult was the Sabbath, which had become utterly commercialised. Wine press operators, farmers, fruit growers, transportation workers, all had disregarded that day, possibly because of the supposed economic needs of the community. But traders peddled their wares on the Sabbath with more than ordinary success. Here, Nehemiah reflects the words of the prophets Jeremiah and Ezekiel, who attributed the misfortune of Judah to the violation of the Sabbath. Apparently that warning went unheeded, since action followed. The gates of the city were closed to merchant traffic, and guards were posted to prevent trading. Since the Sabbath began at sunset, violations could easily happen during the hours of darkness. So to prevent any further violation, guards were set at the gates of the city as they had been at the gates of the temple. The Sabbath was being ignored in disobedience of God's clear command. The words he said to Moses, "You must observe my Sabbaths. This will be a sign between me and you for the generations to come, so that you may know that I am Lord, who makes you holy. Observe the Sabbath because it is holy to you." The Israelites are to observe the Sabbath. "It will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed." In this sense, Sabbath is becoming part of who we are. Sabbath reflects and follows the God of creation. It is both command and covenant, a time of blessing and renewal of relationship. So like the whole of creation, we may say we're not complete until we have rested, until we have Sabbathed. And so Sabbath is a dependence on God, a time to move further into God and to receive blessing and renewal. I wonder if that's something we need to emphasise more in life and in faith. I wonder if that time of blessing and renewal is something we need to protect more. And I wonder how the business of life, our working lives, prepares us to honour God in Sabbath. We read in the Gospels of Jesus healing on the Sabbath, which becomes a cause for persecution. But Jesus' work on the Sabbath is intentional, and that work honours and reflects God. In our society, our contemporary lives, Sabbath may be seen as an act of both resistance and alternative. It's certainly countercultural, Resistance because it says that our lives are not contained or defined by the consumerism of our days, that we have a different concern for how we live our lives. Alternative because the practice of Sabbath puts us in a place to receive God's blessing and renewal, and that's certainly a different way of life. And so resistance and alternative must be intentional. It's the intention to seek to live how God asks us to every day, in our worship, our work, and our rest. Sabbath is needed to restore who we are. It's needed to become who we're meant to be as people of God. It's a time that God seeks to be with us and to bless us and renew us so that we can know him and we can be renewed by him and reflect him in our lives. And so Sabbath sounds like a day worth honouring. Amen.